and welcome to another episode of Frightfully Forgotten Horror Movies. What are we drinking today, Adam?
Today we are drinking Trioxin 245. Good enough to wake the dead.
Today we're going to bring to you a movie from 1981, which was a fantastic year for horror movies. Scanners, My Bloody Valentine, Halloween 2, The Prowler, Friday the 13th Part 2. This movie was directed by Steve Miner. He did Friday the 13th Part 3, and he did Warlock, just to mention two movies.
I like Warlock.
Amy Steele is in this. Steele? She was in April Fool's Day,
which we covered last year.
We think that this one is probably the best one out of the whole batch, right?
It's probably the best horror movie of them all.
Yeah, the rest of them start to get jokey.
The horror aspects of number 2 are really good. Part 2 starts off with the sole survivor from Part 1, Alice. She's alone in her apartment. She has flashbacks to what happened in the first movie. The end of the first movie transitions into her flashbacks. The music's all really eerie and dreamlike. There's a really cool shot from outside where this boot steps in this puddle. She comes out of the shower, opens up her fridge, and sees Mrs. Voorhees' head in her fridge. Someone, most likely Jason, takes his revenge on Alice for the death of Mrs. Voorhees.
He really planned this out, too. Yeah, he brought the head
all the way from Camp Crystal Lake, you know, like you walked all that way with the head.
You think the head was just loose? You're just carrying her maybe in a box, I guess?
Maybe like in a bindle?
Yeah, one of those hobo bindles.
We don't really know where Alice lives, but he has done some traveling. It's a bit of a hike, I'm sure, because she lives in, like, the city. Now we all know that this is Jason Voorhees, of course, but at the time when the movie was released, and this was only the second movie, there's probably some mystery at that point. Like, is it really Jason? Like, who is this guy?
Yeah, well, they kind of, they played a bit of a trick on you in the first one, too.
Yeah.
So
is this a trick, too?
Yeah.
Now it's 5 years later. And there's a bunch of kids that have to attend a camp counselor's training session out, not at Camp Crystal Lake, but on the same body of water. And the old man from the first one approaches the kids. I warned them last time.
You're all doomed.
The scene where the guy that stops to go use the phone to call his buddy, and they tow his truck. And, asshole!
Yeah.
This is my truck!
I like the tow truck driver, too. He's just staring, doesn't give a shit at all.
We kind of get introduced to all the characters that are attending this training session. And of course, there's all your archetypes. There's the prankster. There's a hot girl walking around with her ass hanging out most of the movie.
The slick Rick guy that's kind of after her.
Yeah. He's kind of a creep, that guy. Yeah. There's the kid in the wheelchair.
There's the counselor boss, right?
Yeah. And there's Amy Steele's character, Ginny, who is kind of the strong female. The kids are sitting around the campfire on the first night, and Paul's telling the urban legend of Jason Voorhees. And at this point, he is just an urban legend. The jokester guy jumps out and is like his gitch and
some weird mask.
And he's all super ripped. He's super ripped, that guy. He looks goofy. He looks like fucking Alfred E. Newman or something, but he's built.
Yeah. This sheriff, he kind of sees something sort of lurch into the woods, right? He just stops the car. He's like, hey, you!
What law was he breaking?
Yeah, exactly.
All he did was run across the highway.
And then he stops the car and he goes into the woods chasing whoever this is.
He's all old and out of shape and gassed.
Yeah. He comes across this weird-looking shanty shack type deal in the woods, and that in itself is really creepy.
You see where Jason takes his shit?
Yeah, and there's water in it, which is kind of odd too, because
it's in the middle of the woods. There's no running water.
Yeah, how is there plumbing to this?
Just take a shit in the woods, Jason.
He opens up a door, and you don't see what the cop sees, but he's startled nonetheless. Clunk! Just gets a hammer right in the head. It's not as good as Halloween 2.
That's funny because it's 2 sequels, 2 part 2s, where a cop gets killed by getting a claw hammer in the back of the skull. Halloween 2 is a better claw hammer death.
Brain! So the counselors want to just go to town to the local watering hole, I guess, you know. They kind of start talking about Jason.
If there was a Jason,
you
know, she kind of sympathizes for him.
While everybody's at this watering hole, Jason slowly starts to pick off the counselors one by one. And there's a lot of cool kills, too.
Machete to the face.
The poor bastard kid in the wheelchair.
He rolls down the stairs backwards. Yeah, I love that kill.
Ginny and Paul go back to the campground, and they start looking around for everybody.
And it's dark. It's like pitch dark.
Really dark. And she's like, Paul...
There's someone in this room.
Yeah. And that's where we're going to stop it.
Yeah.
Because that's when shit hits the fan.
I love that scene because you don't see that in horror movies often. Usually everyone's so oblivious. Right. But, you know, Ginny has that feeling, which you sometimes get when you know that you're not alone. And that's a really eerie feeling to get. And just the way she delivers that line, there's someone in this room.
They play it right, you know.
And then she sees Jason and she's like, there's someone in this room!
And then Jason just kicks into action, right? This sequel is still serious, right? It's still continuing the seriousness from the first one. The kills aren't super jokey either. They're pretty bare bones, simple.
Look at this one. You look at part 3, and they're almost completely different movies. Part 3 is very bright. The characters are all really kind of over the top and ridiculous. Yeah. That's where the kills start to get ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now this one is just like a good horror movie, and it's nice, dark atmosphere, really good score. Like the music for this movie, I think is... The music for the first 2 movies, I think, are very underrated. They play a lot into the atmosphere and the vibe of the movie, and it's very creepy, eerie, dreamy music, you know?
Yeah, it's a very down-to-earth horror movie.
Yeah, it is.
There's not a whole lot of fantastic stuff that's happening, you know?
The character development in this movie is actually pretty good for a slasher. It's good like halfway through the movie before the kids start to get killed, and you really get to know them, and you...
Yeah, you kind of care about them almost, right?
Especially the guy in the wheelchair, like you kind of really start to sympathize for him, and you really get to know the kids before they start to get offed.
One of the things that's been floating around recently, and I know After Dark Analysis has asked that question, who's the creepier Jason, right?
Yeah.
The burlap sack Jason or the hockey mask Jason? And we both feel that the burlap sack Jason is by far the creepiest out of all of them. I think.
It is creepy.
It's very creepy. It feels soulless, right?
Yeah.
There's no character to it.
This hillbilly with this sack on his head living in the woods is just so creepy. You kind of understand why they would go with something like the hockey mask. Part 3, it started the franchise is building. You have to start marketing things. You can't really market a sack.
Yeah, it doesn't
work. You can't really sell a sack at Halloween time, you know, so... Obviously, they go with something that's a bit more marketable, but we both prefer the sack.
Yeah, for sure.
Jason is just a dude.
Yeah, he's just a man.
He's just a guy in the woods, you know. He's not a zombie at this point. He's not indestructible. He doesn't have superpowers.
He fucks up quite a bit, you know. And
but this is his first go-around.
Yeah, exactly. He misses her in the woods, right? She kind of hides, and she gets away in the woods. Whereas all the other movies... Whenever somebody's in the woods, they get killed in the woods.
They never make it out of the woods.
They never make it out. No, and she gets out.
Yeah. And I love the scene where he's on the chair. And he's got that fucking, like, pickaxe thing. And then a chair breaks.
Yeah.
He's all klutzy.
He screws up quite a bit.
And Jason runs in this movie, which I think is great, because I never thought a guy stalking you in the woods is all that scary.
Right.
But when a guy is running after you in the woods, well, that's scary.
Yeah.
Because he means business. He's fucking running. He's not lazy. He means to kill you.
Kill you, yeah.
That one scene where she makes the way to his little shack there, and you see through the window, he kind of runs up and...
Jason's first go-around, the kill count's pretty low in this movie,
Yeah,
right?
He doesn't get everybody, you know?
No, and there's a lot of counselors in this movie.
You think for sure that goofy guy is going to get it. Like, when you first see him... Just a dumb look on his face.
Yeah,
like, this fucker, he's gonna get it. He's gonna get it good, too. When he does get it, he's gonna get it good. No, he just stays in town and lives.
Yeah.
What to do to survive a horror movie?
Stay in town and get drunk.
Yeah.
Amy Steele's character is super strong in this. She takes on Jason single-handedly.
Yeah. And she's smart.
And
she doesn't really scream much. Females do in these horror movies, they get backed into a corner and they just, oh,
Yeah, until the guy comes around and saves her, right?
Yeah, she uses her head and does the best that she can with the tools that are available to her.
Exactly.
Right?
And the guy is a lot more feeble.
Yeah.
He's kind of almost useless. He's just more of a distraction.
Yeah, I like that. The roles are flipped. It's a strong female and kind of a useless dude.
Yeah, exactly.
But for some reason, if you've avoided part 2, for whatever reason it may be, please check it out. It's a classic slasher.
Yeah.
Along the same lines as like The Prowler and My Bloody Valentine. It's got the same vibe, the same atmosphere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong. Check it out.